Hello guys, so Jerry speaking. Welcome to Book Reviews, episode number 42. Today we do chapter 4 of Jim Henson's biography. So let's read it out, shall we? So we got for us. Chapter 4, Muppets Incorporated, 1957 to 1962. Seen here, it's Wilkins on the right, and hold on, I'm just messed by the book scene here, but anyway, Wilkins on the right, and I don't know this character's name. Wilkins on the left. That's the Muppets' names in these characters from 1950s, late 1950s, early 1960s. But anyway, see what chapters will be up there anyway. Till page 95. Okay, moving on. The John H. Wilkins Company was one of the Washington scrappers, something like that. More successful local businesses, something like that. John H. Wilkins Sr. started from the firm in 1900s, something like that, as a tiny, family coffee shop in the downtown area, something like that. Anyway, one of the two regulars has been a respected popular population Williams, Jens Bride, I'm gonna pronounce it. Anyway, was not only the fond of coffees, but was also known for the scarf down, the foods left sitting in the open trays and perhaps empty plates. In 1917, Wilkins gone from the coffee wholesale business, joined in 1921 by his son John H. Wilkins Jr. Younger Wilkins had taken over the company, passing his father in 1947. Well, okay. By the 1950s, the firm is one of the most, next page, anyway, successful businesses in the area. Okay? So, 11 million pounds of coffee annually. Wow, okay. Supply 2/3 of the coffee used in the area, hotels and restaurants like that. And over a quarter of the used in the DC area homes. Including White House using Wilkins coffee. Was Wilkins Jr.'s personal sales pitch and mantra. It's a wonderful way to start the day. Wow, okay. Helen Starks like that approached them to discuss a new start of advertising campaign Wilkins, which would involve filming 15 to 10-second coffee commercials like that, which is opting to create more based on the demand. Jim would have only about 8 seconds for each ad. The last 2 seconds would need to show its product itself. Well, okay, makes sense anyway. So the ad would have to make the point quickly. Spit anyway. Spit quickly anyway. And eventually, something like that. There has just been some spastic something like that, and using puppets to sell coffee for the. I don't know what to do with this torn piece anyway. Anyway. But reverse Sanders, that was his last name, yeah. Sanders, like that, anyway. Jill was more than just Muppets. When she concerned, and she, thought the humor of Sam and Friends was really pretty corny, something like that. She still felt there was something there. An edgy survey that she thought would make the Wilkins campaign memorable, something like that. Anyway, it was a challenge, but it didn't take Jim long to accept the offer. But he already had an idea of how we could handle the project, something like that. We took a very different approach, he explained. We could try to sell things by making people laugh. Okay? Unlike most commercials at the time, was simply showed a plot and to describe it in voiceovers like that. Jim wanted to make it fun in advertising itself, using an over-the-top, mark-heavy, hand approach like that. For his commercials, then Jim would take John Wilkins' materials like that and give them up a twist like that. Anyway, no orders with Wilkins coffee merely a wonderful way to start the day. It'll be used Wilkins coffee or else. Or else cause that they Jim some professional experience like that. Jim set to work drawing out his ideas would make that Wilkins project. Storyboarding them is spot in pencil and lined yellow paper, something like that. For the commercials, Jim created 2 new characters like that. The skinny, rounded, excitable Wilkins, who will drink Wilkins coffee, and the scribe, dragger, grumpy Wilkins, who won't, something like that. Anyway, it was the same royal and hearty studying the cautionary characters that Jim had got stuck in the cake of. Only this time, the variable dynamic was a defiant promise and commercials like that, all which work in the same way. Wilkins asked Wilkins like that to try Wilkins coffee. Wilkins confused, so Wilkins let Wilkins have it like that. But it was increasingly reserved and sometimes shocking forms of punishment that Wilkins won't dish out and would make Jim Wilkins spot some of the most memorable and successful commercials in the area. Something like that. Anyway, with the Spiral Wilkins being clawed, shot, egg, blown up, run over, stomped on, and this is what for this refusal to sample Wilkins coffee, something like that. Anyway, in fact, it was already too easy, almost too easy for that. Anyway, for Jim to come up with some crazy something like that, ridiculous, seriously punishing Wilkins, something like that. Anyway, but Jim really didn't like Wilkins coffee, or coffee, and kind of that bar. To Jim, the Wilkins commercials were playful, way to working out what work would take to get him, something like that, or to drink coffee, something like that. And the answer was quite a lot. Jim wanted thought later politely was get down a sip of Wilkins coffee from a dear wilderness home, something like that. Much to the wife of Jay, which knew his immersion in stuff like that. For the commercials, then Jim would always perform the commercial Wilkins, while Jay performed Wilkins, lip syncing the puppets to Jim's pronouncing voice. Well, okay, makes sense. Jim's early segments capitalized on this forward for ending sketches or explosions, or at least explosive vibrations. In one of the first spots Jim produced, Wilkins pointed at Cannon and Wilkins asked, "Okay, buddy, what do you think of Wilkins coffee? I never tasted it." Wilkins admitted something like that. Wilkins fires at Cannon at blasting Wilkins off screen. Well, okay, makes sense anyway. Then turns the cannon towards the viewer. "Now, what do you think of Wilkins?" He points it calmly, quick cut to the cut shot of Wilkins coffee, commercial over, and point made in a dish, and another Wilkins stand the microphone, and whenever they record a commercial, carry the cup of Wilkins coffee, asks Wilkins, "No, I don't want coffee." Wilkins growls, and they hand over the commercial, emerge from off screen, and shoots him point blank. this had to be a public service. Wilkins says to the viewer. For Jim, this is arbitrary to gratefully dodge from a near chain humor, something like that. And at only 8 seconds, it all went by so quickly viewers hardly knew whether to shriek or laugh, something like that. As it turns out, they did both, something like that. Exactly as Jim expected in Wilkins, something like that. Jim had created the kind of silly and enduring characters that were already becoming his trademark. The kind of characters that even let him get away with being a little dangerous. As the Jim have learned, next page. Anyway. From what Kelly's Paul goes, something like that. You always were willing to let you be a little suburb when you were given them someone fun to look at, and more important when they were being entertained. Well, okay. You guys were adorably successful. Since sales of Wilkins coffee soared to 25%, went for Jim and Jane. Well, okay. And the staring advertising firm. Wilkins awards for excellence in advertising. Commercials were an initial hit, and they made a big impact, Jim recalled. And in terms of popular commercials in the Washington area, they were number 1, something like that. Most popular commercials, something like that. Many viewers, in fact, convinced they were Murray, something like that. Sent through afternoon westerns or quiz shows in hopes that occasionally kept latest commercial. Wow, okay. Makes sense anyway. The Wilkins coffee were delighted. It was the biggest thing that has happened in Wilkins coffee, explained John Wilkins. And for Helen Burr, Sendix, something like that. Anyway. For Command's and Jim that has been vindicated, something like that. He has a creative ability, something like that, of being able to get his audience to very emotionally with his Muppets. She said, everybody in the morning feels like killing their husband or wife anyway. People went mad for the puppets like that. So mad, in fact, they were swapped the first bit of Muppet-related merchandise. A pair of Wilkins and Wilkins hand Muppets that fans could get by $7 and the last minute when wine band of Wilkins coffee made of Wilkins made of soft but durable vinyl, more than 25,000 pairs Wilkins and Wilkins puppets sold during the 1958 Christmas season. Despite the use of the Muppet names and promotion, Jim and Jane sold none of the profits, which at the time they borrowed them much. Sure, they cost more than they ever sold, Jane said. Jim and Jane would end up filming nearly 180 commercials for Wilkins Coffee over the next several years. Wow. Okay. Filmed much as Royal Studios in Washington. Coming on the new and more creative serials and what Wilkins could torment poor Wilkins like that. Some ads what Jim indulged in his dozent with Pond. Our show saw that this comment said tied Wilkins as he inches towards the roaring buzzsaw. Okay? Scary, I know. He always was a cut up, Wilkins said. He went up and his partner from the punchlines like that. Anyway. Playing the natural ending, Wilkins could get crushed by falling Washington monuments like that. Anyway. Or an alternate good old fashioned pie in the face humor. Well, okay. Perhaps due to the obvious almost a greenish grease, my dad. Anyway, these were surprisingly few complaints about their cartoonish violence. And in fact, most viewers understood exactly what Jim was up to. So my dad. Anyway, the funniest thing was about have the scene made a moon or something like that. Well, one viewer. It has a message that gets across to people in a very unusual way, something like that. Just Wilkins commercials, something like that, also caught the attention of other coffee companies across the eastern seaboard, who wanted the Muppets selling their coffee as well. The commercials got a lot of talk, something like that, and so then the advertising agency started sanitizing them, and they would sell them in the coffee company in Boston. Another coffee commercial company in New York. Jim recalled, we have about a dozen of so clients going at the same time. Jim said, good community coffee in Louisiana. Louisiana tomorrow's coffee of Boston. Nash coffee of Minnesota. And even the Corporation Drink Council in California. And they pointed out, I was making a lot of money, Jim said. There was totally understatement like that. In 1958 and 1959, respectively, Nash Coffee alone would pay Jim a total of $20,000. Wow. Almost $150,000 today as I'm reading this 2013 book. I don't know how much in 2024 totals today, sadly, fortunately. But anyway, great commercials, wow. It was always a lot of work, wow. As Jim prepared to reshoot old Wilkins commercials, using the names of the other products, the perfect delicious Jim, it was also been G, for example, wow. Okay. The dub in the 5 syllables of log chortle coffee. Over Wilkins' mouth in the 4 syllables of Wilkins coffee. Wow. Part of their phenomenal marketing and visual success, the Wilkins spots marked another kind of personal victory for Jim. That was almost the first voice stuff I did. You know what, probably up until now he had, by his imitation, done by only a couple of little tiny things. The voice, with voice on Salmon Friends, now you have doing all his voices, giving Wilkins, after a bit of improvisation, a slightly quiet from that voice, pitched just a bit higher than his old. Wow, okay. And Wilkins, a great gruff raps like that. Similar to the voice he would later use for Ralph the dog. Well, okay. The Muppets were becoming wildly successful. In 1958, Salmon Friends would win an Emmy for Best Local Entertainment Program, and yet Jim was still uncertain whether there was a future for him as a puppeteer. While the Muppets were still paying the bills, and with a new foray into advertising, paying remarkably well, Jim was still looking towards a future as a payer or as a set next page designer, while Jay was hoping for a career in commercial art or fashion. The profile of Jim in 1958 issue of the University of Maryland's online magazine. Jim only promised to continue with the Muppets as long as they're in demand for them. Previously, in fact, Jim was ready to quit Salmon Friends altogether. I decided to chuck it all and go up to be a payer. Wow, okay. Jim said, I was an artist, you see, so I was going to take the shows off the air just to quit a little while. Jim's decision to set WRC executives scrabbling away to keeping the 21-year-old Reigns management magnet on the payroll. Stations on payroll upon me. Jim later said, laughing, they said, look, we'll pay you, money and you can put somebody else doing the show. So I realized I can get money and at the same time being all paid. Something like that. To take over his performing duties on Stanley Friends, Jim engaged the service of a friend he had known since Northwestern High School, a fellow University of Maryland student named Bobby Page. Page, a quiet and somewhat shy young man, was awed by the surprising confidence of Jim. He already knew what he was worrying, something like that. Page was insulted, so was amazement. Later that spring, Jim was picked by Payne in the constable and drove to WRC's new studios in Nebraska Avenue in Northwest Washington to give Payne a crash course in the Muppet style of performing. Well, okay. Payne quickly came to impress the steer, strength, and sorry Jim bought the job. Okay? Performance Sam Payne we call could be a workout. He had this bar inside of him that you can use this drug Sam Shores. Wow, said Payne. It will kill you to do the whole number. He would made the plastic wood in his hands and head, something like that. It was just heavy, something like that. But even the president, demanding as he could be, Jim always patient and encouraging, like that. Jim more or less said, "You can be able to do anything." Payne said, he's really challenged me to try to do those things. In June 1958, then when the Muppets in good hands, in addition to hiring Payne as a performer, he had left the general management of the Muppets to capital care of Jay. Jim wandered over to Europe, as he quietly described it. No real plan but to travel to the continent and study playing. It would turn out to be a casual journey for him, Jim, in his development as an artist. Through not the parents he had eventually inspired to be. Initially, Jim traveled to Europe with Joe Iron, so he was more than happy to continue the same IOD cab road as he had for their cross-country trip, something like that. Anyway, snapping pictures of Jim as he stood for the front of the Eiffel Tower. Wow, okay. Stretching himself as tall as the desired as he could get and gravely leaping onto the railroad tracks in Germany to pretend to push a freight train, okay? As a 21-year-old and his first European adventure, Jim was a whirlwind of activity weaving through museums in France, scrambling over the rocks and marshmallows like that, craning his neck in bar mines in Germany. Ireland, who had enlisted in the military, followed and to leave Jim in France. After a few weeks to report for active duty, but I know the kind of adventures he had to while in Paris like that. Ireland said later, laughing, it wasn't Ireland characterized it. I'm not gonna say yes word in this book review, sorry. On the sense like that. I'm surprised he came back. Well, okay. For weeks, Jim sporty room, but attended the World's Fair in Brussels like that. And gazing as paintings and the sculptures in Switzerland like that, France and Germany. But to their surprise, there was another art form Europeans enjoyed, and that they took just as seriously as painting or sculpture. In Europe, said Jim, there was amazement. Everyone goes to public shows. as Joe Iron recalled, Joe was especially fascinated by the countless measure Punch and Judy shows, and was even more encouraged with the reaction of the audience. Was fluid and pissed with the activity engaged in the puppets. Often following our story suggestion of having shy conversation with the characters. It's one of the first time Jim had ever been an active audience member. It's absolutely marvelous with that. And how accompanied completely in them audience could get caught up in the performance. Audience were very involved, said the audience with that. These puppets became live entertainers, especially the children. Jim traveled to more developments with that now, seeking out puppet shows of every kind of talking with the puppeteers with that. Anyway, puppet makers, even audiences. When he saw was crowd people who took real people pride with that in their work, paying irresponsible with that wooden heads and sewing beautiful cloth puppets. He saw puppet peers set up that wearable opera houses, while others were equally as gorgeous as their stark memories from that. It's the first time I saw many of your puppeteers. When I traveled around, I saw the work of a number of people, Jim said. They were very serious about their work. Thought that the way they were doing it very interesting. Next page. Anyway. Okay, move on. It was a turning point. Until now, no matter how good groundbreaking his own work might have been, Jim has always had Rudy Paultry's question burning in the back of his head. Why are you wasting your time with those puppets? Now he finally had his answer. He wasn't. He's headed for home in August 1958. After 6 weeks aboard Rosman, that he has made his decision. It was at that point I realized the puppetry was an art form. Exactly. I found a way to do really interesting things, Jim remarked. I came back to do that trip, then fire up to the wonderful puppetry. He also came back with a beard. Valuable variation of the European style Van Dyke. Now, I've been doing this before in the 20-bit tens and the 2020s combined, but with the glasses that I've worn before and the long hair hippie. That's just me. Anyway, I get a brushy circle around his mouth and trimmed a slightly point. It's both fashionable and, Jim's opinion, fashionable and covered the acne scars that were always more visible to himself than to others. Exactly. It was as in those few weeks in Europe as open in Korea, Frogate, were those what followed that would be a period of enormous experimentations like that. In order to grow as Jim pursued from that, a wide variety of interests like that, and began to play with other forms and media. Many projects were never made beyond the idea phase, drawn to Jim's sketchbooks with exploration notes. Others would result in wonderful bits of animation and recordings that Jim would keep private to himself. Scholarship merely like that. The act of creating and imagining from that. He was reaching out, exploring the new ways to tell stories and create worlds like that. Anyway, the ideas came coming almost faster than he could scroll down or carry out like that. That autumn, Jim took no courses at the University of Maryland, nurturing both by puppetry, the puppetry and the literature of the European trip. He was during the stage of European-style production of Henson and Gretel, something like that, and spent the fall things, pages, sketchbooks with set designs, roughly story outlines, something like that. Anyway, Jim's pencil drawings were Henson and Grail, just by his initial admissions on that for the career set design and sketches his haunted forest are alive with energy. Filled with smiling trees that twist himself in the points with that guard knot. And flashing tree stumps with spunky, blank, jack-o'-lantern eyes. It's just a kind of place in which a fairy tale should exist. And Jim Clary had sense of a book, look up, and feel like of a world in which his story would take place. Same design mentally he would bring the Dark Crystal 2 decades later. Wow, okay. Working with Bobby Payne, Jim would go that far with this building the several sets of Henson and Grail, as well as several puppets, including which would light up eyes, but in the end, Jim showed up the puppet, the project, my dad, calling it ridiculously overcomplicated, my dad. Still, the writing design, work hard, had to be good experience. Jim was become a storyteller. Exactly. Even without Henson and Grail, there was plenty to keep Jim busy. First and foremost, Jim was returned to school full-time in 1959, determined to complete his degrees, my dad. On the work end of the things, during Jim's absence, WRC has made the Muppets a regular part of, in our town, a half-hour daily variety show, and from 1 o'clock each afternoon, giving the Muppets 3 regular spots in the daily lineup. Jim also arranged for that for more appearance on Jack Parr's Tonight Show, and continued to film commercials with Wilkins and other coffee companies at the rare rate of about once a week. Wow, okay. With the steady income, the Muppets increasingly the demand. Jim and Jane were ready to take their business to the next level. Okay. Moving beyond the more business partnership, they decided to create their own company in 1958. Jim and Jane established Muppets Incorporated. Okay? While Jim always described them as equal partners in the business, Jane will also refer to Jim as their boss. Jim replied as he was indeed the boss, and he was just a little bit. True, there was more than just a little bit. Jim was drawing up the papers for Muppets Incorporated, so he would own 60% of the company to Jane's 40%. But there was another relationship Jim would later make official as well. Okay? When he came back to from Europe, he had it in his mind that we were supposed to get married, Jane said later. He said, we're going to do this as puppets, and we're going to get married. Wow. Okay. Portion was entirely out of blue. In the 4 years and two of them have been working together, they have developed an ability to speak without talking. Each almost initially understanding the others was speaking, and making the great puppetry, and lately has been make something interesting moments with Jim's fiancée and Marie and Jim's fiancé Bill. Fortunately, that is not the case. The case is this, okay? I remember the elevator ride at WRC one night when Jim had gone up to get Jim and Marie from school. Jane said, and we all four in the elevator, and Jim and I were like, you know, we're here, and that's important, but those next page anyway. Those other two people, they don't need to be here. Oh, wow. Okay. And it was that kind of feeling about it. We have that kind of privacy about us. And so that engagement were broken off. Those engagements were broken off. Yeah, exactly. And Jim and Jane have gone for a few times. Dinner at the Mexican restaurant. And Jim and more interested in materials and the meals. Wow, okay. Go an ice game and attend outdoor performances by the Kingdom Trio or Harry Belafonte. But mostly, said Jane, there were dates. There were just working situations. Big time. The courtship was part of Jim's life plan. The next legal step after forming Muppets Incorporated was towards becoming Jim Henson. Jim and Jane's relationship was based on passion. Passion for art, for performance, and for each other. It was more than a business proposal than a marriage proposal. Exactly. Thank you. It was like, do I have a choice in this? Jane recalled, laughing at first about their usual courtship, and then grew them more elated about their complex 40-year relationship. Even marriage comes with an agreement, and our agreement was that there was support in this work. She said firmly, so in many ways, the work came first. Then that's not necessarily a good agreement. Exactly. This isn't against Jim. I just thinking about the general agreement that the whole marriage and family thing wasn't that the work was primary. Now, I saw this in Idea Man. That makes more sense. I agree with this, and the engagement right cut it off. That would make more sense. I agree on that. But anyway, I understand that. But yeah, where that came from, I'm not really sure. I guess it's because Jim and I were working. When we got married, that wasn't a good agreement. Exactly. And we're not supposed to be questioned. I can say that's about Jim and me. She said finally, he is totally a natural leader. And I said absolutely a follower. I really am. I'm pretty good at allowing things. Okay? To happen when they're supposed to, rather than be a leader. But Jim has always been a leader, always. Thank you. Those who have Jim's profession were the cheerier type. The orator Jane didn't seem. Thank you. I saw this on DMA. Like I said, it's just on Disney Plus. It's just, I don't know what happened. But anyway. Or the face of it. To be Jim Short. But Joe Allen, who knew them both, but he understood. Jane had one thing which Jim would always be attracted. Talent. Exactly. She was also warm and had artistic bent. I will explain. Which Jim found pellets with that. But it's also, he thought mental, I'm not gonna say the S word, sorry, attraction that Jim couldn't deny. Jim was 3 years old, Jim's senior and older, and more experienced than most girls Jim had dated. She was mature, I would say delightfully, and probably more adventurous. Jane couldn't deny there wasn't a sense immaturity there. That maturity that Jane had sensed there during their elevator ride at WRC TV. We had thought of being with each other. Jane said there was a love there. Quite honestly, I can't remember fall in love. Okay. It was more relational look. Was like what's been happening. It has been on the May, let's say later, attraction at first sight. So on May 28th, 1959, okay, Jane family home, in Maryland, Jane Neville and Jim Henson were married in a small cemetery presided over by a family minister. Jim's uncle Jinx, with Joe Iron serving as Jim's best man. Iron, in fact, have nearly missed the way, have run the bad weather during the flight into DC. Okay? Jim, it was terrible for Joe Iron at the time. But anyway, Jim had paid for the private plane to pick up the best man. The moment he landed at the National Airport, it raised him to Maryland, Eastern Shore. There was only one condition imposed on the match. This happened come to Bay Henson, who had insisted her son shaved off his new beard for the way. Jim was always amused with that, putting the series in the envelope and mailing them to Jane just before the wedding, with the playful notes read from Simpson to Delia. In celebration of the episode, Sam and friends went on a short honeymoon hiatus. Exactly. The Henson themselves would make a quick honeymoon sprint to the beach in Delaware's eligible, something like that. With Roy Post reporter Lawrence Wise tipping readers off to the cause of Sam's brief absence from the WRC lineup. Dealing with Henson's selling the new house home in suburb of Russell, Maryland, by a swamping ranch on the Whoopsie Nevis Road, okay? Not only for the first home Jim ever owned, but the first time he had ever lived away from his parents. Built with modern furniture. Purchased with the Muppet money, okay? He was the basement. Jim was set up with the first Muppet workshop, okay? A convertible space crammed with the cabinets and table stearns with fabric paints, foam, glue, and art supplies. Here, Jim would come with scribbled ideas from the sketchbooks, managed to flares of Muppets Incorporated. Son's cat named George Washington Kerr with his feet, okay? He had another new toy in his workshop, a boy's 16mm movie, next page, camera. An ideal camera with an expiring animator. And it has a side-related button, which made it possible to film in just a few frames at a time. Jim exactly said the work creating and what he called animated paintings, okay? I started painting a sheet of paper placed on the lens of the animation stand, Jim recalled. I would just paint a complete strokes, compost strokes from whatever. And take a frame to a film. I would be able to watch this paint evolve and move, something like that. At that time, I lost interest in actual paint and such because the movement concept was so much more interesting. I was really very excited about it. Jim would later put his animation paintings and marble in the main of Sesame Street counting sequences. Exactly. That was my point. Anyway. Perhaps instilled with a new sense of self-consortium, confidence in his writing skills, with experience with Henson and Grail, Jonas began to write more original pieces of Sam and Friends, in the rate of about 2 or 3 a week. Okay? Banging on out the skills in the typewriter, or scribbling in pencil on line, new notebook papers like that. He was also doing more with his own voices in the Muppets, experimenting to come up with just the right sound for each of Sam's cast members. Professor Madclip, something like that, the first character Jim voice ever made, okay? Jim settled out the higher pitch, mad game show host voice, like that. Coming to game shows from Jeopardy, okay? like Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, and other game shows I liked as a kid. Anyway, move on. Harry the Hipster was easier. Jim has a kind of character down pat. Speaking the same sort of nip, north, hip cat, voice a later give the doctor teeth. Okay? Perhaps ignorantly, given his connection with the character, Kermit was closer to Jim's own voice, though slightly more nasal in these early days, given at least just a hint of the swampy Mississippi twang. Wow. Okay? With performing his own sketches, Jim would drive to WRC or record all his voices, music, and sound effects to tape, okay? Which he and Jane, sometimes Bobby Payne at the time, invented and revised, something like that. Created a 4.5-minute soundtrack for their performances, something like that. For the rest of the afternoon, they were listening to the track over and over, memorizing the vocals, and they were sound effects, and they ensured they would come lip sync the Muppets seamlessly to Jim's own voices. For her part, Jim would remain the sub partner, okay? But that has not necessarily been her decision. Jim would never had me do voices, Jane said later, with only a hint of regret for that. I don't think it's my choice. I think it was Jim's. That probably was a disappointment. It was a long one and it was fun. Because I didn't really want to doing that for a long living. Anyway, that makes more sense. Anyway, move on. One of the early Salmon Friends episodes Jim wrote was Power Burn. Fun-filled parody of TV's Gunsmoke that could have been lifted directly from Sam Breedberg on the pages of the New Mad magazine, filled with guiding of winking puns, clever plays like that on words, and silly names that Jim loved. The stagecoach everyone's expected at noon. For example, turns out to be the drama teacher, played exotically by Jim's with Professor Mick Mudclave, something like that. Another sketch poked fun of the Meet the Press, especially in the new show, with a bit of escalates like that, political commentary on the organized crime. Television parodies would also be fun for Jim. Especially enjoy normally game shows, and it would be continued on Sesame Street. Wildcat. One of Jim's most emotional pieces, however, is a skit he called Visual Thinking. Despite thinking was one of my favorite moments ever. Anyway, a sketch where we could refer to Jim's growing mastery of the television medium. He loved the animation, slow animation, something like that. Anyway, and his increasing passion with the working of the mind and imagination. And the sketch is open. Kermit tells Harry he learned the visual his thoughts, and to make the point, he says Larry Q. And looks up to watch the Harry, watches Larry watch itself in the air over his head. Wow, okay. You're a beginner, responds Harry. I'm an old hand at this stuff. Watch. And on the cube, an animated stopwatch appears over Harry's head, and something like that. And the skit progresses. Harry talks about music. And musical notes dots themselves across the head of the screen. You're then scratches a bit, Korean animated scribbles, then that Harry's erased by scarring backwards, like that. But when Harry scars again, they can't recall what he said well enough to say it backward. More and more scars make their way across the screen. Eventually, when all the entire space is currently calls weekly for help in the script of the piece, Jim was careful when dishes were the screen all the effects were located. All of there was their length of time down for the fraction of a second, endorsing he could have their characters respond perfectly in the on-screen animation. The bit works perfectly, and Jim would keep it on the routine for several years, and as well would show up in slightly modified form on Sesame Street. Like at the time like this, I saw bits of it on Sesame Street. Okay, we're gonna try the shows today. I don't know. That's just so hilarious to me at the time. It was like what? It's like, don't, please stop that. That was just hilarious. I'm sorry, but I can't resist. Anyway, it's obvious that by anyone watching Sam and Friends that Jim and Jane were having fun. So much fun, in fact. They're humorous. Next page. Anyway, success was almost initial to them. Something like that. Interviewing the Hensons for Christmas Science Monitor in late 1959, something like that. Reporter Ursula Kelson, something like that. Let's see, there we go. Somebody that Jim and Jane something like that, had earned over $100,000. Wow, that's a lot of money. 1959 standards. Nearly $750,000 today. How much is it in 2024 years? Sorry, yeah. And Nora's Stum and the young man, not yet even in his mid-20s yet. But Jane bristled at such shock, money cannot measure success and happiness. She told Keller, mayor of Bashford, and something like that. Those who knew the young couple at the time were surprised by their attitude towards the material. My impression of Jim and his wife, they were totally unspoiled by the success. One friend remarked. He was just so simple, so unspoiled. They were so expressed with themselves. Well, okay, makes sense. Anyway, that's not to say Jim didn't have his moments of flashy, well-deserved pride. In May 1960, he graduated from the University of Maryland with a degree in his Homes Economics. At this point in his career, a college degree was probably not a requirement, but his life after graduation with Jim clearly valued education. When he returned to school after his absence, completing his degree in 6 years. Jim was rightly proud of his accomplishment and attended his graduation to deriving his Rolls-Royce Silver Club he had purchased, used with his business, $5,000. Wow. But there was something else he even more wonderful that spring. Some even producer power up. And even in early May, Janice was giving birth to their first child, Lisa Mary Henson. Wow, okay. 2 months after graduation, 8-week-old Lisa and Tal, something like that. Jim and Jane pulled into the Rolls-Royce, something like that, and drove to Detroit and to attend 1960s Puppeteer America conversations like that. The decision to make a 1,000-mile round trip to drive to the infants said much about Jim's newly revolved commission to his chosen profession. He has married himself to a company of puppeteers while in Europe, but lacking Europe's widespread distribution to the craft in the United States. Jim was going to have an actively seek out to those who share his passion. This meant joining the Puppeteers America, an organization founded in 1946 to, among other things, encourage and promote puppetry as a means of combination and addition of human expression as a performing art. Now it's just the sort of environment Jim that could get behind. Okay? Anyway. Move on from there. Anyway. The convention turned out to be everything, okay? Jim had helped them and would be with performances at every type of puppetry and an opportunity to talk to every kind of puppeteer, okay? He's even struck up the friendship with the one puppeteer with whom he probably had the most in common, something like that. So TV performer Bill Trollstorm, who was attending the conversation with talented puppeteer, puppet builder Don Celine, something like that. Wow, okay. Besides puppetry, Trollstorm and Jim have other interests in common as well. Both have a background in Christian Science. Wow. Okay? But even with their different approaches to humor, where Trollstorm preserved persistence like that, Jim was explosive. Trollstorm turned out to be having the same impish streak as Jim. One afternoon, when only a little pride informed Trollstorm, the two puppeteers drove through the streets of Detroit in Jim's Rolls Royce, while Jim was brusquely walking Kermit through the car's sunroof while Trollstorm drove. Barry was able to chain his lap to Jane, who admits hiding in the back seat, could only shake her head in mock disbelief. What was the roles and the new baby? Well, okay, she said later. We made quite an impression. Without partially intended to. It was clear that Trollstorm had comrade in arms, just as silly and just as talented he was. It was through Trollstorm just that Jim would make a commercial with another gentlemen who share their devilish sense of humor. Well, okay. Although it's by his mentions one that gentleman would probably not the right term to describe 29-year-old talent agent Bernie Bilstein player was more like it, something like that. Sunrise Jewish immigrators, something like that, with nephew of the vaudevillain, the streetwise immigrations, Bilstein was a leapfrog in his way of the latter of the renowned William Morris Industries, whatever pronounced. Anyway, move on. Moving to 5 short years in the mailroom, the public streets like that, department to the head of the commercial office, a beat up the man bearing the mask like that, with a large libido and an even bigger taste of talent. Bill Storm was also a master of the art of the deal. He was a customer whatever pronounced it. Anyway, to work in the hard, kind, and determined never to take the no for the answer. Bill Streamform immediately became one of the most powerful and respected agents, managers, producers in the show business. An A-list roster of celebrity clients, including each nearly entire cast of Saturday Night Live. Well, okay. In 1960, however, as head of William Morris's commercial office, his job was recurring in report presenting talent for television commercials. Bill Stream, an early fan of television, clearly put the rest of the next page. Anyway, showbiz apart that television commercials were the has-beens or the hard-up, measuring the stable of the tied tiers clients that like Zaza, Kramer, Harbor Max, and Burl Tarzan, something like that. At the Detroit Puppetry Convention, Jim mentioned at Trollstorm that he as well was looking for an agent. That if he was becoming increasingly difficult to secure booking on the variety show circuit, something like that. And that the agent was the best way to get a foot for the door. Sometimes later, Trollstorm phoned Bill Stream in New York, and asked if he would do him a favor and met with a puppeteer friend of his. Bill Stream grounded. "Burr, give me a break, will you please?" The agent said. "I love you. But you're one in a million. I'm into nightclub comedians and comedy. I don't really want to handle puppeteers. Really, Brostein? Seriously? Anyway, Chillstorm was preserved when that. Bernie's a guy, something special, and he's a really nice guy. I didn't want to. Burstein said later, but I said okay. Jim Dwightley made the trip to New York, where he he just waved in Burstein's office. Burstein would never forget his first impression of 23-year-old Jim Henson. He wanted this guy to look like a cross between Abe Lincoln and Jesus. Okay. Burstein recalled he was so gentle and precious presentation that they would never spoke about a whisper. Jim had brought with him a box of Muppets and was presented to put on a show for Burstein. He was magic, Burstein said for 4 years later. So amazed at the performance. When Jim performed, I understood it. I got it. I don't know what I saw in him, but I saw something. I realized that at first, before we became close friends, Jim appealed to my preserved sense of humor. Sesame Street, which was still a few years off, was for kids, but Henson was not for a kid's eye. Exactly. He was a hip and stocky dog. Sorry dog, something like that. He was a cute, he had cute creations, but he liked to blow them up. Exactly. Shortly after Jim left the office, Burstein's phone rang. Bernie, his boss, had for the upper hand. And have you heard of Jim Henson and the Muppets? Burstein roared with laughter. Heard of him? Burstein, how? I just signed him. Well, Burstein liked to claim that the two of them never entered a formal agreement during doing business solely in the strength of the handshake. The two did, in fact, sign a contract. Exactly. In the summer, the Muppets made their first appearance on Dave Growy's Today Show. With Jim and Jane broadcasting on the live feed on from WRC Studios, Growy's chatted with them from New York. Okay? Jim was still an enormous fan of reality shows but today, and had performed enough of them by now that he felt certain that he could write and produce a variety show of his own. Exactly. One that would allow him to develop his own characters, write longer sketches, and indulge in this bit of chaos every once in a while. He was also certain that the Muppets could keep a viewer's attention for longer than he just 5-minute segments. Exactly. And Jim saw it. Muppets could more than hold there for full half hour. They could even headline their own shows. It was their dream. Jim would preserve for more than 15 years. Wow, okay. While this in mind, Jim began sketching ideas in the Muppet variety show he called Zookas. Okay? Melon Zoo and Circus. Makes sense. Developed characters with the reflecting of his own interest and sense of humor. They're quite with Jones, a streamlined Muppet with flying hair and with share Jim's love of cars. Now, that makes more sense here. The character known simply as a cat, okay? Who personified Jim's interest in jazz culture, something like that. And share Harry the hipster's beatnik's style tax, okay? And then there was a favorite character type of Jim's, the stuffed shirt ambidex of who doesn't get a joke. Acts of artists of whom others who ask questions, okay? Jim wrote a character called the Philosophers, okay? Quotes, usually wrong or inappropriate, doesn't know anything practical, okay? I don't know what happened there, but that makes more sense. You know, that's just me. Anyway, Elvis and Zukas will show up later on the Muppet Show. Wow. With Dr. Teeth as a hipster derivate of the cat. Sammy Eagle controlling the posture and the spleen for higher culture. Just in entries even in 1960 even, okay? Jim is a clear vision of stage design that, in many ways, directly influenced the set of design for the Muppet Show in 1976. Already there's a kind of quality proof in which the Muppets would appear in the Muppet Show's opening credits. It's time to like the it's time to play the music and slide on the lights. It's time to meet the Muppets in the Muppet Show tonight. It's making more sense. Anyway, I'm making one more myself. But anyway, in the wall of windows of Bowery Heights were humans who could interact with puppets. Good enough. Lucas will never move beyond the page of Jim's notebooks at all, sad to say. Most likely due to the lack of time and purchase the project. Time in fact. Next page. Anyway, we're about 11 more pages left. 10 more pages left and we'll wrap things up. Anyway, it was on Jim's mind more and more. The ticking clock was feeling of disappearing time. That seemed to haunt Jim's immediately following his brother's death. Well, okay. So he's ticking again. Still performing too. Sometimes 3 shows a day. Being a live appearance and now is his responsibility as a husband and new father. There were days when Jim likely wondered if there would ever be time enough to do all these things they would do. Time enough to turn his ideas into reality. Timely Jim would took the other inner struggle and turn into an art. Wow. Okay. In late 1959, Jim has mentioned in the interview the Christmas sign reminder they had made thinking about starting a recording company in 1960. Perhaps a dry rhyme. Jim recorded a single for Signature Records featuring 2 songs he had written, TikTok Sick and Countryside. Both allowed Jim to introduce and indulge his love of jazz and company records. And TikTok Sick in particular gave Jim an opportunity to playfully comment on his own busy state of mind and busy 1960 year. Jim performed TikTok Sick in the whispery hip-hop style reminiscent of a Beatnik poet and the open mic at the coffee house singing over the walking bass line and the sound of a steadily ticking clock. Wow, okay. The soundtrack starts off with a celebration of the sound of a ticking grandfather clock. Wow. But because it becomes more 07 calculated clickings, okay? More and more clocks measures over the days when they're ticking, okay? Makes sense anyway? Finally, an alarm clock clangs loudly, and Jim clocks out the window. Then he gradually smashes the rest of his clocks. Valerie never to let the ribbons of his life be determined by the ticking of the rings of clocks. For the 23-year-old Jim, while time could never be truly conserved, it could at least be controlled by slowing down, getting away from deadlines from time to time, and sharing the similar bangs. It would advise he would strive to live by successfully, something like that. For the most part, the rest of his life, while Jim had been vowing in TikTok Sick to slow down, this would have to wait. He was now busier than ever. Sam and friends would be highest and probably WRC was wisely using Sam privately and the partial materials for the channel's evening lineup. Sam is back, called the WRC, in September 1960 ad in the Washington Post announced that time change for a newscast, with Sam Shockface starring out the 3 years. Anyway, there was more appearances in the Today Show, along with countless other appearances like that, on nearly every other reality or talk show of the day. With Jim and Jane again popped in the Dave Carusway's New York studio in the live feed of WRC in Washington, something like that. In one notable Today Show appearance, which Garway's introduction introduced Jim and Jane and as two of the most interesting people ever, Jim and Jane gave two-party spirited performance. The birth had Carmen at the Roger Hummerite Muppet named Chicken Liver, lip-singing to Yes, We Have No Bananas. Wow, okay. With Jim as Kermit turning the Rolligan and very compensating banjo solo, okay? While Jane immediately performed the Chicken Liver, pounding away on his own piano. The next piece was on one of the regular crowd places like that. Jim's growing selection of proven Muppet performance as he would use regularly. Performing Louis Palmer and Casey Sleage's Down Black Magic. Kermit wrapping it up in the dark wig, and Sam mimicking the lead vocal. It was another whooping success. Wow, okay. In early 1961, Jane learned that she was pregnant with their second child. Jim was delighted. And Jane decided the time was right to make a difficult but crucial decision. Following the birth of their next child, Jane would be retired from performing. But now she would remain as active performer for the longest that she could. And would always stay involved with the comedy, even as she devoted herself full time with the children. But with the Muppets showing no signs of wanting infirmary, Jim was crucially anxious to expand him to the upper media. Jim was going to need help sooner rather than later. That summer, Jim's 1-year-old Lisa and a very pregnant Jane made a trip to Puppeteers America convention in Albuquerque, California. Wow. Okay. Driving out this time, the much more combinable but smashingly less flashy station wagon. While Jim didn't necessarily regard this as a regular trip, he was always interested in watching others perform and making contents like that. The trip to Detroit combination has sparked a professional friendship with Bert Charleston and led him to Bernie Bilstein. Joining California, however, would mark the began an even more exploratory relationship. Arriving at the convention, Jim eventually attached himself to next page. Anyway, Mike Osnos and his wife Frances, two talented performers he had met briefly, which I have seen during Idea Man at the time. Frances was when I saw the dedication at the time in House Sister movie when I was a kid growing up. In the end credits saying this film is dedicated in memory of Frances Osnos, something like that. This is like the ending. I was like, I was just like, wow. It was heartbreaking, to say the least. The director's name is Frank Oz, and I'm talking that it was before he directed House Sister and other movies, starting with Dark Crystal. That makes more sense. But you get the idea. It was right after Imagine Entertainment who done that. You know, that's just me. But anyway, moving on. Okay. At the Detroit Convention in 1960, the Dutch-born Osnos, something like that, had fled Nazi across Europe with family in the late 1930s. Talking for first met in North Africa and then England, where Frances were born two sons. Her second, Frank Richard Osnos, something like that, would be born in Hereford, England, on May 25th, 1944, okay? Before migrating to the United States in 1951. Arrived in New York, as now is someone that spent his last dollar performing his pregnant wife and two sons safely on trains with a new home in Montana, okay? With the family who had trained before with their new home, with a family who had sponsored the immigration of ways like that. They hitchhiked the rest of the way to himself. After a short stay in Montana, the family moved to Oakland, California, living briefly in the attic until Mike found employment in a window dresser for women's apparel stores like that. A long puppetry enthusiast, Mike and his wife had briefly active members of the Puppeteers America and were Jim's opinion, something like that. Marvelous and very outgoing people and terrific performers. Good enough. Jim was just as encouraged by their son Frank. Now a quietly intense teenager, approaching his senior year in high school, and already a gifted performer and a marionette. But despite his talent for the young Frank Oz now, he will later be shortened the last name Oz, Frank Oz now. But anyway, puppetry will only be a hobby. It was almost an industrial one that plays in a distance further beyond girls and sports, okay? I never wanted to be a puppeteer, Oz said. Still, it's difficult to ignore puppetry in the Oz Now home. Our house is like a saloon for puppeteers and performers, Oz said later. And by the own ambition he had latching onto puppetry, both as a way of pleasing his parents and raise money to plan trips to Europe. At age 14, then, he has been joined Larry Shubbard's traveling vagabond puppets team at the Northland Recreation Department. Then performed regularly and without pay at Fairyland Mission Park, something like that, where he struck up with a friendship with a young man named Jerry Joel, 5 years his senior. He's an equally talented performer who have lately become a regular at Osner Norway's home saloon. Okay, makes sense anyway, but more. Haas has become a Osner convention mainly to perform with Joel and another Bond for puppeteer in the show Joel have written called The Witch Who Had Stole Thursday. He also wanted to participate as a talent contest, which apparently he won. Which, while his parents had met Jim in Detroit a year earlier, Oz knew nothing about him. But he had slightly familiar with the Muppets, thanks to the Wilkins and Wilkins commercials Jim had produced for the regional colonized Drake Castle. Those ads have impressed him, Oz remembered because they were likely anything else. But he finally met Jim in person. Oz couldn't help but enchanted by the soft-spoken 24-year-old who could suddenly become a mag force of nurture once a puppet was placed in his hands. He was very quiet side guy, Oz said, who did these absolutely effing words. I'm not gonna say in the episode. Sorry. Anyway, amazing puppets that were totally brand new and fresh. That has never been done yet. Never been done before. Exactly, Frank. Big time. Once the Jim's presence, it was easy to get caught up in the excitement. Oz admitted that puppetry was a good way to bring self-restrained, shy, self-engaging boy to express himself, perform several short routines to avoid his father, including a sketch called Sunday painter, something like that, in which a painter sets out to paint a picture of an uncultivated flower, which stacks and writes himself. Much of the painter's frustration, afterward Jim pulls Oz aside to discuss the performance. He said, "The end is weak," something like that. Oz recalled, still laughing at the comedy 5 decades later. "That was very Jim. My ending was very bit airy, something like that. Whereas Jim liked the things that be blown up or eaten." Wow, okay. Despite the ending, Jim was impressed enough with the young man's skills to discuss with Mike and Francis are now with something like that. The possibility of their son coming back to East to join the Muppets Incorporated, but Oz was barely 17 and still in high school. He was really still at home, not ready to come east yet. Jim remembered, but we talked about it as an idea. With that idea, see hard and see how it's been planted. One as we grow and blossom into one of the finest and funniest, creative and productive partnerships in entertainment. Years later, on the other hand, Jim would admit that those were moments in his life where he felt like somebody or something like that was guiding him, something like that. Anyway, this was felt like one of the most moments, and he would later chalk up his lifelong partnership with Frank Oz. Wow, okay. But the fortunate bit of spread, at least like that. I think it was an accident, Jim said years later. I don't think it was. I was concerned looking for somebody exactly. I don't know what happened there, Jim. Sorry. Anyway, instead, somebody or something has found them for each other. Oz maybe agreed it was only a chance that he would have been considering the first. Next page. Anyway, place. Anyway, I've been never used to go to puppetry conventions ever, except for this one. I went to, and when I was 17 years old, Jim happened to be there. For now, Jim had Oz remained in California to finish high school, but Oz thought he would knew someone else might work well with Jim, and they recommended Jim to speak with his fellow vagabond puppeteer, Jerry Joel. Well, okay. Joel, unlike Oz, did not want to be a puppeteer. Born Jerome Raven Joel in St. Paul, Minnesota, the 21-year-old Joel has been building and performing puppets since he was age 11. And after moving to Menlo Park, California, has found the Menlo Marionettes was still in high school. After graduating from San Jose State College, while a degree in speech and drama, he has joined. Then he headed the Vagabond Puppets, where he tapped into beyond Frank Oz and his assistant, and co-created and performed the puppet pop on the local children's show starring Pop. With thick glasses and nearly confident hair, Joel looked more than the interest so summoned than the puppeteer. But behind the business-like materials like that was a whip and tapper, sharp and gems, something like that. It makes more sense anyway. And then the same sense of humor, playful fun. Anyway, Joel's family with the Muppets through their various television appearances, and found their impressive age strangely fascinating, something like that. The Muppets already had a cult following, Joel said. The production, the bizarre, slightly dangerous comedy. Joel was unprepared, something like that. Then was the first glimpse of the man responsible for such outlandish humor, something like that. Jim seemed for so utterly normal. Joel recalled he has driven across the country in shiny new station wagon with his wife Jane and baby Lisa, and they look at average and suburban actors in a Chevrolet commercial. Makes sense anyway. Jim invited Jules, my dad, out of the parking lot where he was parked his station wagon with a large black box of Muppets in the back. In the sense of that scene that had been familiar with Barry Bernstein's, my dad, Jim opened that box, took out his Muppets on that one by one, began to perform. Like Bernstein, Joel never forgot who he saw that afternoon. The things he brought out in the box seemed to me to be magical presents, like tossings like that, but funnier. An angry creature whose lullaby was around the triangle, purple skull named Yorick, green fall-like thing named Kermit, like that. One after another, Jim pulled them from the box, like that. Put them on his hand and brought them to life. Who was this Henson's guy? Then these things weren't puppets. Not as I ever seen or defined them. Joel was speechless. This guy was like a sailor who had studied the compass and found that they were the fifth direction of which one that could sail. Something like that. Anyway, there was no doubt that his mind, there was a direction like that. When he offered me the bird tip of the ship, I was signed on, making Joel the first official full-time employee of Muppets Incorporated. Good enough. Anyway, shortly after returning to Maryland in August, Jane gave birth to their second child, Cheryl Henson. Newly hired Joey Joel took over Jane's performing duties on Sam and Friends, which is still one of the WRC's most popular programs after more than 6 years. Jim, however, was again growing tired of the 5-minute twice-a-day routine, Sam and Friends, showing us to see beyond the wildest dreams, but Jim was dreaming of even wilder now. Looking for opportunities to try something new. He was having his chance sooner than expected, thanks to the formal invitation from the United States Department of Agriculture, something like that. And the invitation so out of the blue that it was having to come about in part through Paul Henson's contest inside the USDA, something like that. And in mid-November 1961, USDA would be hosting a week-long U.S. food fair in Hamburg, Germany, part of U.S. government effort to develop and expand the sales of U.S. foods, agriculture, products, and expand it. That's what that anyway. And common dates, pronounce it. Sorry. Anyway, more on. Throughout Europe, and fair officials were wondering if Jim and Sam and Friends might be interested in providing entertainment wanted populations. Jim agreed to participate, but not with Sam and Friends. Both Jim, this was an opportunity had been looking for to try something different, and better yet, it could be done far away from the home crowd that still expecting Sam Kermit to lip sync the Sam Freeberg records. He and Joel set to work writing a number of skits that would always allow them to showcase several new kinds of puppets, and even tap a brilliant young beat comedian named Dub Gross. Next page. Anyways, his work, Jim was likely familiar through Gross's 1959 comedy record, How to Speak Hip. Okay? Makes sense anyway. To write a sketch from the show. If the Hamburg fair was a trail run for the next stage of the Muppets Incorporated, Jim was taking the opportunity seriously, delighted typing the formal presentation of government officials, renewing his passport and corresponding partly with USDA employees with commission. They knew better that Jim was funny. For Jim, it wasn't that about being funny. It was also getting the audience response to new kinds of puppetry, and performances that figuring out what works with it wasn't. What did? Okay. If one or two of these bits either doesn't live up with the expression or doesn't perform well with the audience, Jim is sort of the host, something like that. Or will draw the provisional bit to double up to the others. One of the first sketches presented in Hamburg was the drill team. Wow. Scary, I know. Features Jim explaining a rather industrial set of musical puppets. Well, okay. Makes sense anyway. A magical drill team made of wood, each with moving arms and painted smiling faces mounted to the rolling rack. So the figures would move in the usual and something like that. The piece would mainly involve with the commanding officer barking and visual orders and see put the drill team through their moves. Wow, okay. With full surprises, the drill team fired guns that emitted smoke and usually get just power blown with straw. And when at the end of their skit, the team trained its fire under their captain, the figure noses lit up. The audience responded with only polite inflation. Wow, okay. While Jim would have hauled the routine out from time to time over the next few years, he eventually shoved it. Wow, okay. Much better received the chef's salad. Okay, okay. Much better received the chef's salad and the pulled piece featuring Amars, my dad, as an interesting from that chef who's crazily cuts up food and everything else, my dad, and prepares a salad for the first time. Jim performed with a live hand. Something like that. Anyway. Puppet, anyway. In which the main puppeteer performs the puppet's mouth and inserts his upper hand. Usually the left, since the most right-handed puppeteers before they operate the character's mouth with the dramatic hand into the puppet's left glove hand. Meanwhile, the second performer, in the case Joel, operates the puppet's right hand. Setup requires a great deal of coordination, in which the puppeteers work seamlessly. The right hand needs to know almost exactly what the left hand is up to. But when the down hit well, it allows the puppet to handle objects deeply and turns into a much more believable performance. Something like that. In that case, Jim and Joel perform the characters flawlessly, with Jim running in the mock German as they hurled cheese and eggs in the ball. Something like that. Anyway. Blow Almer's nose in the handkerchief, which was blown in the bowl as well. Then stirred in the mix and the gospels like that. Jim still couldn't resist ending the sketch in true Muppet fashion. The coordination exploded Almer's face. Something like that. Anyway. And the crowd roared and was approval, something like that. The piece would stay. 15 years later, Jim would use almost exactly the same setup. All the way down to the mock fortune light, something like that. When Muppet Show's Swedish Chef. Wow. Okay? One of the most embarrassing, worry, odd pieces, something like that. Anyway. Was a lip sync performance of the Maureen Stewart Time on My Hands. Wow, okay. Performing the new puppet Jim called Limbo the Throwing Face. Wow. Limbo, as Jim would describe it, is with a very flexible face, mostly just a mouth and eyes. Performing as a fucking to the on the way TIGG, yeah, taking of the nearly invisible fish line in the bottom of the frame that causing the foam rubber mouth. To open it closed, and the eyes and the right went crinkle shut. Well, okay. It was quite a puppet, and Jim was proud of it, calling it reality. Well, okay. Anyways, the Hamburg crowd greeted the performance warmly. Proved some confusion, but Jim was pleased with it and would perform variations of the play pieces the next decade. Unveiling in the talk shows, in ambitious computers animated form on Sesame Street. USDA was thrilled with Jim's and Jerry's performance, hailing it on the special and fair feed of entertainment. And Jim must have been pleased on this plane touch by down in New York at the end of November. For the most part, the performances have been departure the more familiar style of the Muppets, but the crowd have responded favorably. With some more work, he could start introducing these more experimental forms of puppetry in form of American audiences. Well, okay. First, however, it was time to close up to some shop with Sam and friends. Sam would make his exits quite literally, with the hang of this final episode broadcast at 11:25 on Friday, December 15th, 1961. Okay? Would conclude that what becoming the Muppet kind of ending the Sam and friends are set exploring and following the pieces around the cast. Okay, makes sense. I just don't know what happened. Move on. There was an uproar from Sam's fans around his demise, but Jim, next page. Anyway, was too busy with noise. In February 1962, he and Jerry Joel headed to Europe again. This time to take part of the Green Walk Week show in Berlin, hosted by the U.S. Information Agency, something like that. Anyway, Jim chose to perform many of the same skits he and Jerry Joel had used in the Hamburg show, with one major addition. He is determined, something like that. He also, after, oh my god, LukeE warm, okay, whatever. After lukewarm reception of drill team piece in Hamburg, to come up with the medical puppet performance that worked, he succeeded for the most part because the minute performance was so funny, pulling the average, oh man, European impression of the average American tourist, okay? Jim's new material puppets were based on the stereotype of the ugly American, featuring the cigar chomping loudmouth with a Hawaiian shirt, who was bang to be sold one of the Alps to be he could build a hotel, and the absolute gum smacking woman who partially advised audiences to always learn the few words in the fraudulent language to make the natives feel more at home. Okay? The audience loved it, and Jim went home satisfied with his early experience at animatronics. Okay? I feel he would come to respond decades later in his highly successful and always available creative shop. Okay? In June 1962, Jim had his team, including Jane, Jerry Joel, Bobby Payne, traveled to train by Atlanta, Georgia, my home state. Okay? Tape a half-hour pilot that Jim and Joel has written called Tales of the Tinkerdy. Okay? Tinker was Jim's opportunity to work with the concepts of folklore and fairy tales. Still great interest in him and since he would visit to Europe and put the work in pared down manner. Some of the uncompleted storytelling elements of unrelated to Henson and Gretel project, instead of adapting an existing story. However, Tinker allowed Jim to create his own magical kingdom, populate with his own characters, something like that, and tell a story in his own unique madcap style without the need to be the eventual source material. It was there also to be a chance to introduce another Hot Life Hank Muppets. The first Jim was used in the American production following the successful Hamburg debut. Power Tinker was involved around King Garbage and his plans for a birthday party for his daughter, Princess Gwendolvia. Something like that. Anyway. And the partial efforts to Talia Grenfell, something like that. The Witch's Witch of All. Well, okay. Crash the party. Conjure Princess of the Head to make off the gifts with the help of Charlie the Ogre. Well, okay. Talia was use a variety of disguise of influence castle where she is finally caught and imprisoned by the king. Scary, I know. It's really just a half hour of one-line jokes, okay? Said Joe later. We done those kind of gags before on Salmon Friends, but this was the first time we stretched down with the full furry bands. Stretchers of blabber, unfair assessments like that. For Tinker it's a globally fast-paced piece. And no time does the camera linger, something like that. With a pace stag, something like that. Stag, SAG for short. Anyway. With only 6 speaking characters, Jim make all the moments count. Jim's Kingdom, costume box, something like that. And this is kind of coolest off-free figure Jim loved to play. The nuggets of dopey advice while gnawing on the cigar and the mastery bit of puppet design and crab's manship is craftsmanship like that. Anyway. In the matter of puppet design craftsmanship like that. Cigar script, real smoke. Wow, okay. Jim himself had made a cameo appearance in shorts and Crosby Kenwick sidekick Charlie the Ogre. Okay? Visually only for the waist down. His bare legs spattered with mud. Similar to Tinker narrator and Greek chorus Kermit, dressed in masterful and strumming a lute. Okay? You see him on little drowsy knolls singing the narration we have written in form of quotes like that. God-awful puns and high-risk rhymes like that, said Joel. More famously, he was with his gradual minister collar on something like that, covering solidly looks every inch of frog. More or close enough to so that from here on out it would be a no-brainer. So to definitely call him one. We frogified him, Jim said later, or slightly later, the loss of the abstraction. He's just slowly became a frog. Wow. Despite the more nimble left-hand Muppet, rock solid performance, and some laugh out loud moments, how Jim couldn't resist ending the episode with a pie in the face. Wow, okay. Tyler the Tinker someone that failed to provide the interest of any TV network. Perhaps the humor is so similar to Rocky and Bullwinkle. Wow, okay. In a minute, influence executives fully appearance is originally something like that. More likely, the network simply didn't share Jim influence that the Muppets could hold up their on them for 30 minutes. Bearing that, try to democratically some of that survival audience. Well, Jim has never billed himself as a kid's that. Now so simply couldn't see puppeteers last page of this book, and we'll wrap things up. Anyway, it's puppets. Okay, makes sense. Anyway, puppets. Anyway, it's anything but entertainment for children. In spite of Jim's hard work, the commentaries like that, just the Flintstones, by the way, or layers like that, the symptoms, when they demonstrate that cartoons could treat a starry young audiences hold their own adult readers. So as well, with Jim as a conflicted advisory proved that Muppets could attract and hold a more grown-up than audience. In less than a year, Jim will make his point, and the Muppets will become the national phenomenon. But it will be a dog, not a frog, will be held lead this way. So that was chapter 4 of the book. Seriously, I have to move this on to what's going on with anyway. Chapter 4 of the book. It was like okay, catchy, so I can guess anyway. But I did not know what happened. It's just some parts of it is okay. Some parts of it is like catchy to read. I'll talk about that in the let's just say if you're talking final bits of the final reigns in the episode. Let's just say that. Let's say episode 56 per se. Let's just say that. That was episode number 42 of book reviews. Hope you enjoyed. There's going to be a brand new episode of book reviews. This will be the last book review I'm doing today on that, and I'm going to tape this later on tonight. It's exactly what I'm doing, which is going to be about Jim Henson Biography, Chapter 5. Now, excuse me, I got talk to Mom, say hey to her, say how you doing, things like that, and then I'll watch some episodes of Boring Jokes on my Rumble account. Because after this is over, I'm getting ready to I'm just gonna get ready to just after talking to her and get ready to watch Boring Jokes, have pizza and do other things, I'm getting ready to read one last chapter of the book for the day. For you guys out there. Till next time, so James Box Baby, go with me soon, say out. See ya.